welcome to 2020 Design Trends by UXPin. Today in our short interview, I'm joined by Christian. Christian, could you please tell us about yourself, about your career experience, and like all the things why you're a designer?
Sure. So my name is Christian Tryller. I have about 18 years worth of design experience at this point. I started in the early 2000s with traditional design work, graphic design, branding design, marketing design. And then in the late 2000s, I made the transition to really focus on UX and UI design. Specifically, what caught my eye is the psychology behind the designs and the analytics and how the designs are really influenced by data. And so from there, I just kept practicing it and learning more about it and taking different jobs, different roles, different freelance opportunities, and then working with larger organizations. I've worked with a number of different large organizations, from healthcare organizations to product organizations to one of my last stints was with IBM for a number of years. And recently I made a transition to a biotechnology company based out of San Francisco. So, yeah.
Yeah, impressive. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
So I think you would probably have to say a lot about trends in like job field of like designer jobs, like UX designer, product designer, because like whenever I talk to designers, they have like different opinions on how the field will like change. So do you have like anything? Do you think there's any specific trend there?
Well, specific trend within organizations, are you saying? Is that
yeah, maybe. Like what's your vision of like hiring landscape?
So I think it's important that organizations have a clear roadmap for designers and the design practice within organizations. So whether organizations are hiring people as contractors or full-time employees, at least sort of groom or just have conversations with designers and see where junior designers, mid-level designers, and even senior designers want to go. Specifically, whether individuals want to continue to be individual contributors and follow that sort of roadmap for themselves, because they're the type of individuals that want to always be designing and have their hands-on projects, or for designers that want to take on more of a leadership role from a management perspective. In either case, either designer roadmap is essentially a leadership role. It just depends on what your focal area is going to be. But again, my point of saying that, I believe that it's important that organizations give designers those roadmaps and have conversations with designers, rather than taking designers into organizations and then putting them rather in a almost like a production work line.
Like, so you wouldn't say that there's going to be very specific shift in like design job landscape, but like more organizational approach, right?
Yeah, and I think the lines between UX research, UX design, information architecture, UI design, prototyping, being a product designer specifically, I think the roles and responsibilities between the different titles that are out there are going to eventually be very blurred, and you'll see that at least within the next 5 years, that as teams are growing from a team of 2 or 3 people to a team of 2,000 designers, you'll see that roles and responsibilities will be shifting, and a typical designer who may get hired to do UX research may end up doing some UX UI design as well, because of the need of the organization. And so I think as designers, we're always learning, and we should always just be open to problem solving, whatever that opportunity may be. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I gotcha. But there's this thing that there are new technologies, like coming into the design world, like new tools that we can actually use, right? For example, like in UX research, I'd say like AI is going to make like a huge difference, right? Do you think so?
Yeah, I do think so. I think it's going to be a helpful tool. I don't think it'll replace UX research, right? Because I think UX research and having that human touch and being able to be empathetic to individuals and actually understand their viewpoint, or even having the same sort of tone and experiences that individuals have had that you're interviewing is immensely important with just interviewing and doing the UX research today. I think we'll have tools that help expedite that actual process and have to help to actually crunch that actual data as well. So it'll definitely be a useful asset along the actual way, but I don't foresee it fully replacing the job of a UX researcher.
Uh-huh. Because, well, like you said, you were like kind of mesmerized by the psychology behind, like the UX job, right? So
Right.
it's not something that computers can do, right?
At this point, I mean, who
Uh-huh.
knows what may happen within the next at the end of 10 years? But today, speaking, I don't think AI is at the point where it can completely replace UX research.
Hmm. But I guess it's a huge help still, right? To like it helps to like iterate and like as you said, like compute the data and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, think about it too. So we're an individual team of UX researchers. So let's say there's three UX researchers within a team, and they split up a day of interviewing individuals. If they interview anywhere from 15 to 20 individuals within that actual day, depending on an AI system that's set up, an AI system set up properly could probably interview 100 individuals within that actual day, right? So the consumption of data or the gathering of data can be expedited by using AI tools. So it's definitely there to help along the actual way.
Hmm. Yeah, but there still has to be a human who like draws the conclusions, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Well, while we are speaking of trends like technology and stuff, do you have like one like your favorite trends or something that you are really looking forward in the designer field in 2020?
Yeah. Actually, looking past 2020 and probably over the next 10 years, obviously within this past decade, one of the big items that has come up is privacy and data. Um, and so while we haven't really completely solved that for, let's say, the social media aspect of things, and people sharing information, their personal information, family photos and stuff, I think within the next decade we're going to see another issue come up where we're going to see the issue of privatization and data being shared within the healthcare system, right? And how that problem is going to get solved. So, an individual who goes to, let's say, get DNA testing, and the results of that actual DNA testing, where's that information saved, where is it shared, how is it stored and stuff. And at least within the United States, I don't think we've solved that completely yet. I know Europe has handled that in a couple different ways, but I think overall that's a bigger problem that we're going to see come along the actual way. That's going to be fun to try to solve with data and AI.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, there's this, I don't know if you've heard about this 10-year challenge, like hashtag and everything on social media. And
Mhm.
I've heard, I don't know if that's a true rumor or is it just a rumor, but I've heard that they like started it only to get like a lot of data for, like faces of people, how it changes to train like AI to like so that's like gathering data.
Yeah,
like
I heard.
violating privacy, well, maybe not violating, but um like playing with privacy.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard that as well. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but only time will tell.
Yeah. And I think it's a huge issue. So yeah, well, what you said that it's going to be will help like somehow, and the designers have to or product makers have to uh, approach that issue as well, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a large design issue that we're going to have to try to solve across the board, but it's going to take everybody. It's going to take everybody from engineering to product owners to everybody involved from the top to the bottom to help solve that larger issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, well, when I speak to designers in our interviews, I'm hearing that well, some of them at least want like to get acknowledged uh, as like contributors to the business as well. So I think that collaborative kind of workflows are something that are going to be trending as well in 2020. Do you think so?
Yeah, I do think so. I think it's important for designers, whether it be a freelance designer or a designer working within a larger organization, to establish relationships with their peers on teams.
Mhm.
Working on product teams and you know once you're brought on board and you start to emerge onto a project, establish that conversation with the engineers, establish that conversation with the content writers and the product owners, and pull them to the side, have a one-on-one, or go get a cup of coffee with them, and figure out how they like to work, that particular individual. Because from one designer to another, each designer works differently, so that applies to all the other team members in those actual organizations. So once you've figured out and you've had those conversations and you've established those relationships with those individuals, that makes for a better product flow.
Uh-huh. Exactly. And that kind of I think that kind of resonates with what you said about like blurred lines in like job roles, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as a designer, I mean, my own personal experience, I you've had to learn. I've had to learn how to become a content writer to a certain degree, right? Become some sort of front end or back end developer, and reading the language and understanding understanding the output of things, and also being a project manager to the actual project to make sure the project moves along. So you have to wear a bunch of different hats. If you're invested in a project and a product and you want it to be successful, you have to do all these additional steps. And I think it comes naturally to individuals that are invested in these type of projects. So it's not. I don't think we're asking a lot of people, essentially.
Okay, so since we're talking about like how you changed during the course of your career, could you please share like your personal goals for 2020? Are they like aligned with some kind of specific trend in design, or maybe not? Maybe you're like going evergreen. What are your goals?
Yeah, so my personal goals. I recently joined a new team. As I was saying earlier, or rather, a new organization, and that organization is starting to scale up and realize the importance of design within the organization. So my personal goals, professional goals for design for 2020 is to actually work with this smaller team and help them grow the team, and help my team members out, but also help out the engineers on the organization and figure out how to work in a larger scale. I have experience, obviously, coming from quite a larger organization, so I have experience on how to juggle multiple projects and how to make sure that all those different projects have the right components to be successful. So so really just looking to hopefully step into a leadership role to my peers within the organization for 2020.
Yeah, well, good for you. Fingers crossed.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, Christian, thank you very much for joining our interview, for sharing your thoughts and your experience and your knowledge. Let's keep in touch.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me.